So, George, Paul, Ringo, and I were at this resort. Because, you know, George likes to learn how to play new things. And so he was like, I want to learn how to play a golf club. So we went to this golf resort. And there's a really nice restaurant there, and Ringo loves food. Okay, so, we're in the room. And yeah, you know what we're doing. We're all together. We're kind of doing some drugs. So we all got high. We were partying. And I looked around. I was like, where's Ringo? He disappeared.
here.
Shut up!
So, Ringo, no one
He
cares.
disappeared. So I run out into the hall. And it was supposed to be a hall. But it was really sunny. And there was some nice little purple flowers. And they were singing and talking to me. And being all cute and nice. And I was like, this is weird. I looked over and there was a big troll walking towards me. I was like, no, I have to save Ringo. I'm the leader of the Beatles. Shut up, Paul. Shut up, Paul. I was like, I have to save these flowers and get Ringo. So I run after the troll and I tackle the troll. And I was kind of running fast. And I slid all the way into an elevator. And the worst part about being in the elevator was it was going down. So the elevator went down. And the doors opened, and the fiery pits of hell were before me. And so I figured Ringo would go to hell. So I'm running through hell, and I'm seeing there are these big monsters with giant swords that are cutting off pieces of human flesh and cooking them, and it smelled really delicious. So I looked all through hell, and I couldn't find Ringo. So I came out the other side of hell. I looked up, and there was one really big, bright star in the sky. And it told me that its name was Lucy. And Lucy told me that if I could find her husband, she would give me diamonds. So I was like, so I have to save Lucy's husband and Ringo. So, when I came out from the other side of hell, it was this giant ocean, but there was this really thick algae. And like, I could walk on the ocean. It was all moving. So I'm walking, looking for Ringo, and Lucy tells me that there's this lake in the algae in the ocean, because, you know, those things exist. And so I go and find this lake, and there's this giant statue in the middle of the lake. It was a yellow submarine. It's like, where would Ringo go? A yellow submarine. So I'm swimming through the lake when I notice there are blue meanies everywhere in the lake. So I have to fight off these blue meanies. So I'm sitting there fighting blue meanies. It took forever because the little things kept biting me and trimming my toenails. So I finally get to the yellow submarine. I climbed all over the yellow submarine. I went up and down and across one side, fell off into the water, hit my head. No entrance to the submarine. So I'm standing there on top of the submarine. Can't get in the submarine. I think Ringo's in there. And I see off into the distance, there's a man. And Lucy's like, that's my husband. So I leap left off the submarine, swim across the lake, onto the other side, and I'm running. And I notice that as I'm getting closer, next to this man, there's some little flowers. It's mostly little flowers. And it was a garden. Then I realized the man was being trapped by an octopus. It was an octopus's garden. So I get there, and I realize it's Ringo. It's like, Lucy's husband's Ringo? Whatever. So I'm fighting this octopus, and I finally get the octopus off of Ringo, and then it starts strangling me. So everything starts to go fuzzy, and I black out. So I saved Ringo, blacked out. Then I was being shaken awake by our manager, and he was yelling at me that we have to go. Because, well, he was saying something about assaulting a maid, disrupting a world-class restaurant, disrupting pro golfers, swimming in the water hazard, climbing on fountains, and destruction of a garden hose. Not sure what that was about, but we ran and got out.
Right. Wow. I did not know that happened at all.
I quite enjoyed it.
Ringo, would you like to tell your side of the story?
No, not really.
All right, I'll tell my story. Wow. That's why we found you on the golf course. Okay.
Thank you.
Well, anyway, while John and Ringo went about their way, George and I stayed in the room, and we were watching the telly, and Yoko walks in. And as you all know, Yoko Ono is my beautiful Asian wife. And I don't know what race she is.
Your wife? Really, Paul?
I don't want to talk about it, John.
I hate you.
She kissed me lightly on the cheek
I hate you.
and told me she had a surprise for me.
This is why we can't have nice things.
And in her left hand was a small bag of mushrooms. George and my interest were piqued enough, and we each took a handful of the drippy shrooms from the bag, and we, ate them. And Yoko had failed to inform us that these were, in fact, rotten mushrooms. Hell ensued as a result, and George and I could do nothing but sit back and let the hallucinogens take their course as Yoko left us to our doom. Meanwhile, back in our room, George had pointed out that a small portal had opened at one end, and I looked and saw that this was so. And we headed out the portal into a long tunnel, and they were doing like these hand motions, bug off. Anyway, so there's a long tunnel, and there were tons of flowers that were yellow and green, and they appeared to be made of cellophane. And at the end of the tunnel, there was a small girl with wings, and she was crying horribly. She told us that her name was Lucy, and that she had lost her diamond. And so we picked up Lucy.
Why are there so many diamonds?
We picked up Lucy, and we headed into the bubble room, which took us up. And I believe it was the elevator, if I'm not mistaken. But we opened up into a land that was very bright. Everything was very vivid, and there were tangerine trees and marmalade skies everywhere. And so she looks up in the sky and she says, those there, the rocking horse people, and their marshmallow pies, they have my diamond. And she showed us into a bright light and told us to throw her as far as we could. So we heaved her, and then she flew off in the air and said, there will be a surprise for you in your room when you get back, and that... right, so then a train arrived and took us, and we blacked out. We woke up in our room about 9 hours later, and we had written Lucy in the Sky with Diamonds in soap on the bathroom mirror. George motioned me to the window, and we went and looked out, and a crime scene investigation had begun at the base of the hotel. As it so turns out, Lucy was the name of the maid that we kidnapped, took up the elevator, and flew off the roof of the hotel. As we were looking out the window, we saw on the golf course our friends John and Ringo in a heap of garden hoses. So we ran over there with the manager. The manager yelled at us, and we got out of there. And that is our tale. Oh, and the moral of the story is to never trust women. Because Yoko Ono brought us rotten mushrooms. Old bag. So, that's the point.
Guys, I wrote a song.
Oh. Ringo, you wrote a song?
Yeah, I wrote a song.
Let's see it. Let's see the song.
This is my song.
This is the song? Let's put it on the refrigerator.
Okay.
Put it on the refrigerator.
Okay, my song. Yeah, I guess I do. What you don't know about Ringo is he's actually very intellectual. Oh, as I talk about myself in the third part, what we wrote that Ringo needs no nursing, for Ringo Starr does not need money or fame. Ringo Starr only needs to be sane. For I have three friends which I am fond. That would be George,
Paul.
And John?
Paul.
And John.
George isn't here. He has polio.
And John. George, Paul, and John.
He called me George.
Okay, it's Ringo.
Continue.
I am a Beatle, and I love my life. I love my wife. Barbara is my wife.
You should probably read from the paper. It's not what it says. Because as well as it says, I am a Beatle and I love my life, as well as Barbara, my beautiful sea.
Guys, it's okay. We do drugs.
You should probably read what you wrote. Don't add
Yeah,
that.
you funny.
Just read.
We came from England for personal feelings. Tax in England was not to feelings. Too much on drugs. Too much on drugs.
Don't interrupt. Keep reading.
A band was a hit, women dropped to the floor, and every concert we had people out the door. There were four of us, and we were all for one. The two of us are not tried up and done. That is sober.
Okay. I don't know what you're talking about, really, but continue.
Myself and Paul are still hanging on. Our relationship after is not that fun.
I think you meant formed. O-N-D, that says F-A-W-N. I believe that's a small deer, if I'm not mistaken.
Dude, that's a small deer.
What?
A dig.
I do love the Dick-Dicks of Northern Ireland this time of year. Continue reading, Ringo.
George and John are now having fun when they haven't made, as they
That's
stay
not
in
what
the
that says.
as they stay in the octopus's garden in the shade.
Oh.
And I am Ringo, so I don't want to rhyme anymore.
No, that says I don't want any more to rhyme.
I can't read, you know this.
Just read what you wrote,
And I am
Ringo.
Ringo, so I don't want any more rhyme.
Yeah, if you give me a moment of your time.
I'll tell you a tale about why I'm always happy, even though it may be somewhat wacky. Okay, no more rhyming. Okay, so
I was very afraid that was an intro to our story. Because there's nothing more than papers. And I was very preoccupied for a moment. Continue, Ringo.
Excuse me,
Yes.
do you have Christian Ramos?
Why no we don't. He's not in this class.
No, he's not here.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Cheerio.
Continue.
okay, so we were all together, and where were we? Were we on the golf? I think it was the golf course. We were trying to still get in the bloody other submarine,
Hate that thing.
and there were just lots of drugs. The whole time, Paul was just freaking out, saying he was this girl named Lucy. But
I don't remember saying such a thing in the story.
you were. LSD does that to
I
people.
don't-
You did black out.
I took
You did
mushrooms,
black
not
out.
LSD.
You did both.
Really? You never did LSD
Is that
in your
why?
life.
Is that why the mushrooms were trippy? They were covered in LSD, weren't they?
Yeah, they would.
That's horrible.
You kept saying you were in the sky.
Continue.
You said you were in the sky, and you also had diamonds.
Continue.
Paul loved you loved your diamonds to an insane amount, so you wrote a song about a man, and that's pretty much. I mean,
That was a relatively short tale compared to either John or myself.
I'm Ringo.
He did rhyme.
He did rhyme. I'll give him that. Well, Ringo, you should probably just go home now.
And we're taking it off the refrigerator. Yeah, that's right.
Don't cry. Leave.
I'm glad he's gone.
Me too.
Maybe 10 years.
No, actually, that's all we had to say.